Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, scheduling permitted, to address whatever topics you might like to discuss, whatever issues of life you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. You may call every day or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. You may discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families, whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind. God is concerned about that which concerns you. And so we are here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock. The water collects in a natural artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery. And you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is Earth's finest water. And for all of our listeners and viewers who continue giving on the Give segment of our app at New Life Delaware, and those of you that have made a monthly commitment to support the broadcast, we thank you for your support and your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here to address whatever topics you might like to discuss and whatever you find challenging or difficult to navigate. So I'm going to begin by addressing a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you find yourself comparing your husband to all your other relationships. You indicated in your communication that he's still the best man. However, there are things that you, from the previous relationships, that you enjoyed about the past. So let me begin by saying this. One of the things that you are troubled with is that you continuously compare your husband to the other men that were previously in your life. You've got to stop comparing them. They're not the same individuals. You even said yourself that he is the best man. Pardon me. There are things about the past that you enjoy, but the reason those individuals are past relationships, the reason those relationships are over, is because the things that you enjoyed and the things that you couldn't tolerate, the things that you could not tolerate outweighed the things that you enjoyed. Whatever those things are, they're just things. They're things of the past that don't really mean anything, or you'd still be in that relationship. You didn't marry any of them, and so therefore, because you didn't marry any of them, that should tell you in itself they were not the one that God appointed for your life, or you'd still be together with them. You've been married for quite some time now. You have a good quality of life. I want to say to you and to all of our listeners and viewers, be mindful of this. Every ex that you have in your past, every ex-relationship, former relationship, every ex-husband, there's a reason that they are of the past. There's a reason they're your ex. There's a reason that you are no longer with them, or that, for all of our other listeners and viewers, that they're your ex-husband. Or, for the males out there listening, your ex-wife. There's a reason that they're no longer with you. And the reason is, and let me break this down a little further. The reason is, first of all, they are not the person God appointed for your life. That's the first thing. The second thing is that there were issues in the relationship that caused the relationship to come to an end. So you don't want to revisit the good parts just because there were some good parts to the relationship. People call those memories, but you don't need to revisit them. There may be things that every person liked about a previous relationship or liked about a previous marriage, but that doesn't mean you want to go back to Egypt. That doesn't mean that you should ever want to go back to Egypt. We chose the people that we are no longer with because we chose them for our own reasons. And I've said this in a Sunday sermon, I've said this on the Daily Divine Direction broadcast previously, I am certain. We chose them for whatever reasons we wanted to choose them. We thought they were attractive, we thought that they were successful, we thought we liked the way they live, we liked the way there's a lot of reasons we choose people. But if it's not who God has appointed for your life, it's not the right person. And that's the reason that 50% of relationships and marriages come to an end. Because they're not who God has appointed. They're who we have chosen. Let me go a little deeper than that. They're not who God has anointed for our lives. It's who we appoint for our lives. Now, I'll take the spiritual aspect out of it and say, it's not what God has appointed. It's not what God has purposed. It's what we choose for all types of reasons. We choose people. We bring them into our lives. We join ourselves to them in relationships. We join ourselves to them in marriage. And divorce will happen. Breakups will happen. The Bible says, how can two walk together unless they agree? How can you be unequally yoked? If you don't have the same vision for life, the same character, the same integrity, you don't have anything in common except the outward things that you like about certain individuals or past relationships. Those little small things that we enjoyed in the relationship. It could have been you enjoyed the way you traveled together. You enjoyed the way, but you didn't like living together. There can be all kinds of things from the past that we could sit down and analyze and say we enjoyed, but what about the things that you didn't enjoy that created the demise of the relationship or created the demise of the marriage? You have to say to yourself, what is my purpose for comparing them to my current spouse? What is the purpose of me comparing my spouse to the past relationships, to a previous marriage? It's useless because there's a reason it ended. And we have to be mindful of that. You're comparing your husband to an illusion of what you enjoyed from the past. And the reality is that he has been consistently making an effort. God allowed me to see in that secret place of your lives. You have a good marriage. He's been consistently trying to build a better life for you and your family, for your whole family, your entire family. When I say that, meaning your children and your loved ones. In whatever way he can. He helps out in whatever way he can help them also. Or he's willing to. And so that is a good man. That's a husband who's trying to follow what God has directed. Now, his relationship with the Lord might be lacking, but that doesn't mean he's a bad person. He can always work on the relationship with the Lord. All of us at some point, unless you were holy from the womb, had a lacking relationship with the Lord at some point in our lives. So that's something that every individual has the opportunity and the privilege to work on. But as a person, he's a good man. Stop comparing him. You know what this reminds me of, and I like to use this analogy. I was reading and watching a basketball game last night. You cannot compare an orange to a basketball because they're both orange and round. They don't serve the same purpose. You're not going to get the same benefits from either one of them. Just because they're both orange and round doesn't make them the same. You're husband is someone you married. The people that you've had relationships with in the past, you didn't marry, and you didn't marry them for a reason, because you knew they were not going to. I was about to say something else, but you knew they were not going to provide the opportunity for you to build a better quality of life. You knew that they were not going to work together with you to build a better quality of life. That's not who they are. They were the good fellas, the good time guys. You know, they were in it for the time, and then the time came to an end. The relationship came to an end. Stop comparing your husband to someone else. Enjoy the love that you have for one another. Enjoy the relationship you have with one another. Enjoy the life that you built together as a family. And stop right there. Stop looking in your rearview mirror. Stop looking in your side view mirrors. Enjoy what God has blessed you with. And that is a spouse, a husband who's going to walk together in agreement to build a great quality of life and continue building a great quality of life. No relationship, no marriage is perfect. There's always going to be ebbs and flows. There's going to be things that need to be done that both of you are going to need to do and to work on. As far as personalities, that's an ongoing evolution in a relationship or marriage. However, as long as we're making an effort, each person is making an effort to be the best version of themselves that they can possibly become. To God be the glory. It will result in experiencing the fullness of God in all of your lives, and it will result in and maximizing the fullness of God in all of your lives. It's all going to take time. Nothing's going to happen overnight. Rome's not going to be built in a day, but you will get to the place that God has appointed and purposed for your lives. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you over into our queue so that you can experience T-Mobile, America's largest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. So I already said today, we are thankful for those of you who continue giving on the Give segment of our app at New Life Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly and monthly commitment to support the broadcast. We thank you for your commitment, for your support and your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God, to be here to address all of these topics and the issues of life you find challenging and difficult to navigate. We're going to ask you to extend that at no additional cost to you. Extend your partnership with us and your support by, if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, we're going to really work to maximize our T-Mobile partnership in the coming year. So if you're not a T-Mobile customer, or if you have family, friends, coworkers, or colleagues, encourage everyone to help us to maximize our partnership with T-Mobile at no cost to you, but it will enhance our sponsorship partnership with T-Mobile, America's largest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. So encourage everyone to call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We're going to move everyone to experience T-Mobile, America's largest nationwide 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you feel that you are ahead of where you wanted to be this year. However, the holidays are coming, holidays are here, and you do not want to lose your place where you are right now. I call it the momentum. You don't want to lose the momentum. So I'm going to say this to you. As I was prayerful about God giving you the strength and the energy and the focus and all of those things that you need to continue the pace that you're on right now. So yesterday I talked about pace, but today I'm going to say this. You've got to recognize that in order for you to maintain that momentum, first of all, I'm going to lay out three things. You have to remain intentional. Now, that's something that we have talked about a lot this year in my own household. You know, we've talked about being more intentional. And you know, I will say we are intentional about almost everything. we are. Sometimes there are things that will slip through the cracks, but it's not often. And I'm thankful for that. But having said that, we all have to be more intentional. And you've been intentional for a very long time, and that's an excellent thing, an excellent course to build a great quality of life. You have to remain intentional about everything. Remain intentional. Remain organized. And remain strategic. So now I'm going to break it down. Intentional, because you have been able to get ahead of where you are right now, and you know yourself. So you know that during the holidays you kind of, slow things down. I'll use that term. You don't shut things down, but you slow things down. And you do that, and here's the trick. You do that starting Thanksgiving. You're here in America. You're not in our area, but you are here in America. So you start doing it about Thanksgiving. You start slowing things down. And so the last couple of weeks, you've noticed that you're slowing things down. You're still ahead of where you are or where you should be this year. So you might not receive the bonus you might normally receive when there isn't COVID, but you're still going to receive a bonus this year. And that's a good thing, because you're ahead of where you should be. Your annual report is going to exceed expectations, so that's a great thing. Here's what you've got to do. You've got to remain intentional about every single thing. Now, none of us are perfect, so when I say you have to remain intentional, you've been intentional for a long time. But I also know that because none of us are perfect, you know that a few things slip through the cracks. And I say the same thing about our own household. There are a few things that will slip through the cracks. And when I say that, meaning they don't have to be anything detrimental. So it can be something as simple as doing things that when you redo them, you're going to have to take more time to redo them. So if and I'm thinking about one thing specifically, but it's the little things that we do that when we have to go back and correct it, it takes more time. And it can just be a simple minute, but every minute has to have a purpose. And so you have to remain intentional about every single thing in your life, both personally and professionally. You've got to make certain that you remain intentional, because you've been slowing down for a few weeks now because it's the holidays are here, and we have 2 weeks left in the month. And as I said yesterday, some of that's going to include Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and New Year's Eve, which means you're going to slow down even more over the next couple of weeks if you don't remain intentional about everything. You're going to lose some of the momentum that you have established to be ahead of where you intended to be at the end of this year. And you got to remain organized. Don't listen, and this is for all of our listeners and viewers. Don't get sloppy. So for those of you that are wherever you are across the U.S., wherever you are around the globe, for those of you that are not here in America, but you still celebrate Christmas, you didn't celebrate Thanksgiving, but you will celebrate Christmas. We don't want to lose momentum by becoming sloppy. And when I say that, meaning it doesn't have to look like a mess, but what I'm saying is we don't want to do things without a spirit of excellence. So everything that we do and everything that we're doing, we have to work on making certain that we have that spirit of excellence. That's going to be real important as we wrap up the remainder of this year. Okay. So in addition to that, we've got to make certain that in being organized, that we chart out everything, that we know exactly what we're doing Every hour of every day, listen, every minute of every day, every hour of every day of every week of every month. That's the mantra. So we have to make certain that for the remainder of this year that we don't get sloppy, let some things slip. I don't really feel like doing that right now, so I'm not going to do it, even though I know it needs to be done. I'm not talking about the things you want to do. I'm talking about the things that need to be done, that need to be completed. There's some things that you may want to do that you haven't gotten to yet. That's okay, because the time is going to come when you will be able to do it, even as we go into the new year, and you will get those things done. But the things that need to be done immediately, you cannot set them aside and say, I still have time for the remainder of the year, I'll get to it, because you'll find yourself doing them when the new year comes. We've got to keep and remain organized. And then we've got to be strategic. We've got to be strategic about what we want to accomplish, how we can get it done, the goals that we want to accomplish before the end of the year. And here's a news flash for you. If you're ahead of where you are right now, which our listener viewer who sent in this communication is ahead of where you are right now, then what you really want to do is maybe set another goal that you can accomplish in the next 2 weeks, so that we have a sense of accomplishment, a sense of I've maintained the momentum, I'm going into the new year with some momentum, I've accomplished everything that I want to accomplish, and I've added something to the agenda that will give me a greater sense of accomplishment. That's being the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become. So those are the 3 things that you can do to make certain that you do not lose the momentum. Be intentional, be organized, be strategic. If we can do those things, the IOS in our lives, if we can do those things, be intentional, be organized, and be strategic, we will not lose the momentum that's necessary to carry us into the new year. See, this is what, and I'm going to say this for all of our listeners and viewers. This is what it looks like for the spirit of excellence. This is what it looks like becoming the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become. We don't just finish or complete a calendar year. We complete the calendar year with momentum going into the new year. We've got goals set for the new year, because if you've been with us long enough, you have written a 7-year plan. You've got goals that you're setting to accomplish before the new year comes, going into the new year, so that we go into the new year with momentum, and that we go into the new year maximizing our success, experiencing the fullness of God in all of our lives. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, check for their store hours, stop in at their retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need. They have shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. And right now, if you order shirts from Charles Tyrwhitt, you will receive 4 high-quality cotton shirts for $199. And they also have high-quality cashmere sweaters on sale right now, too, for $179.50. So if you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. They will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And The White Company, located in London, the UK, they also have a store on 5th Avenue in New York. If you're in New York, check for their store hours. They have everything that you could possibly need: home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. If you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that people continuously attempt to manipulate you into doing what they want you to do, and you want to know how can you shut down this type of behavior from people in your life. So let me begin by saying this. You're not the only person that happens to. First and foremost, just know you're not living that journey alone. You're not living that issue alone. And I'm going to break this down because I think it's real important that we understand. First of all, you can have family members who try to manipulate you. Those are family members that you may have to love from afar. You may have friends who are manipulative. Those are the wrong friends. There may be people in your sphere, there may be people who are in your circle that are not family or in extended family, immediate, friends. There may be people around you that you work with who will try to manipulate you. There are people are going to be in your life that will attempt to manipulate you. You don't have to shut down the behavior, because you can't modify someone else's behavior, but you can teach people how to treat you. You're not going to be able to modify their behavior. So shutting them down is not, and I understood what you were referring to when you said, you want to shut it down. But shutting it down would imply that you can modify their behavior. You cannot modify their behavior. What you can do is you can eliminate some people from your life. There are some people you can love from afar. And then because there's people, your immediate family, for example, who some of them may have a manipulative behavior, you're going to have to decide what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. Not what you're capable of doing. Because you're capable of doing everything that they ask you to do in most instances. But why would you do that? And the reason is because, now this is where God allowed me to see in that secret place of your life, the people around you are not growing. They're not growing as individuals, and they're not growing as individuals because they don't ever find it necessary to go to God for what they need and desire. Because the Bible says when you delight yourself in the Lord, He'll give you the desires of your heart. So they don't ever find it necessary to go to Him, because they'll go to you, they'll go to, God allowed me to see in that secret place of your life, they'll go to your elderly parents, they'll go to their siblings, they'll go to their friends. They go to everyone else, but they won't go to God, because God will hold them accountable. See, we don't have to think of God that way, particularly in the Christian faith. We don't think about God holding us accountable. We think about Him as, in many cases, I preached a sermon about this once. We think of Him as a genie in the Bible, that we can rub the Bible 3 times and Jesus will pop out and grant us 3 wishes. That's not how He works. If you seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, doing the right thing, that's really what it boils down to. It's just making a conscious decision every day to do the right thing. The Bible says all things will be added unto you. How you treat others, how you treat your spouse. Because the Bible says you two become one. If you don't treat your spouse well, you really aren't treating yourself well. So we have to make it real personal. We have to make it real personal. Pardon me. We have to make it real personal. And we have to say to ourselves, listen, I'm doing the best I can do to be the best version of myself that I can possibly become. I expect others to do the same. That's what you have to say to yourself. It's one thing to help people who are in need. It's another thing to help people who are in want. Because at the end of the day, if you allow people to continuously manipulate you, you are going to be exhausted, because you're being manipulated continuously. And none of us need that in our lives. 3D. Today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast has been brought to you by Fiji Water, a taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. May God bless you today. May God keep his face turned